Good morning, everyone. My name is Lalit Soni, and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. So, budget is out now, and we'll be having a lot of focus on the budget in today's session because most of the articles in the newspaper are basically from the budget. So, you must have heard that when there is a gold rush, you must find a shovel first, because when there is a gold rush, most of the people will be moving towards the mines, or you can say the deposits. But the thing is, those who will find the shovel first, they will be the one who will be getting the gold. So the thing is, uh, here when we are talking about our preparation, when we are talking about economy part, after static, the most important thing would be your budget and economic survey. Since we don't have economic survey, we have this Indian economy review report by the financial ministry. And second thing is the budget. Here the shovel means that you should go for the budget speech and the proper budget document itself. Okay, there are some highlights which are provided by the ministry itself, so you should actually go for that first before going to any kind of summary. Okay, because that way you will have an idea what government is trying to do and what government has in mind when we are talking about the future course of action. Okay, so right now when we will be discussing budget, our focus will be on the key items which has happened in the budget speech. Okay, other than that, in the today's newspaper, most of the articles are related to budget, but the thing is we cannot discuss all of the articles. So I have made a summary, or I have taken this summary from the site of the finance ministry, and then we will be discussing those so that we can cover all part of the budget or all the important aspect of the budget in this session. Other than that, we will be looking at 2 or 3 articles in the day. So let's see the first, you can say, front page of the Indian Express. Here you can say interim budget, no pole vault, measured step looking ahead. Okay, so basically here they have said that since we are going for the interim budget this time, because we have general elections coming up, and government this time did not focus on any kind of populist measures or any kind of populist schemes, etc. They have only gone for the few which are essential for this particular period of time, or you can say the intervening months of the elections. They asked for the expenditure for that. Okay, so interim budget, so we will be discussing this particular thing, and then we will be looking into few important aspects related to the budget. Okay, and then we'll see these articles as well. Let's say first we will discuss the budget, and then talking trends. There are 2 or 3 graphs which I have taken, which will be giving you the idea of some trends. Okay, I have not taken inflation etc. because the trends in inflation etc. are moving up and down. So there is no fixed trend, you can say, in that particular point of when we are talking about headline inflation. But I have taken some trends which are giving you a consistent picture that if they are going downwards, if they are going upwards, all these factors we will be discussing. After that, viability gap funding for wind. Okay, so basically for offshore wind energy projects, right now India does not have any kind of offshore wind energy project, but the thing is we have potential sites and we are looking forward with it, and we are trying to go for cleaner energy, and that is why this particular thing becomes important. I have taken this article because I wanted to tell you this viability gap funding. Okay, other than that, we'll take 1 or 2 articles related to international affairs, and then there is no article for your own read because the whole newspaper is for your own read today, because it is related to budget. They will cover various aspects, not only what is there in the budget, but various schemes etc. which are part of your budget. Okay, so that is one thing. So let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the last session. So let's see. Which of the following country does not have a year-round scientific presence in the Arctic region? We have seen that our India has a center, Himadri, in Arctic region, or you can say in Norwegian region, in Svalbard. Okay, so basically India has become the fourth country, fourth nation to have the year-round present on this particular region. So that is why in that particular article was in the news, and we have discussed that. Other than that, there are 3 more countries. As I told you, India becomes the fourth, so there are 3 other countries. Okay, so one of them is Germany, second is Italy, third is Norway. obviously it is in the Norwegian area, so obviously Norway would be the one of the countries. Okay, so now when we are talking about USA is not having here long presence in this particular region, so we can say that D, USA will be your answer. Other than that, these three countries plus Norway has, you can say, year round presence or scientific presence in this particular region. Okay, so that is about your Arctic region, and we have a center Himadri which was established in 2008. Okay, so moving further, let's start with the today's discussion. Interim budget, no pole vault, measured step looking ahead. So basically here you can say that there was no populist policy or populist measure, as you can say, has taken place. When we are talking about most important thing, that is tax brackets or the tax incentives, all these things are kept same. Okay, other than that, there were few things which has been discussed in the budget speech, or there are various schemes which has been talked about, like PM Kisan, PM Sampada, then Vishwakarma scheme. All these things are important for your prelims point of view as well as mains point of view, because they have been discussed, they have been in the narrative for a long time now. So that is why that speech becomes inherently more important for you to go through. Okay, so now let's see. 1 lakh crore corpus for innovation and research. So for science and tech and R&D and innovation, we have allocated 1 lakh corpus. Okay, so this will enhance, you can say, when we are talking about innovation in various aspects, when we are talking about innovation in AI, etc. So this will actually enhance our service sector, our telecom sector, even our economy as a matter of fact, because we have this fintech companies, etc. So that is one thing. Other than that, when we are talking about research, there are various you can say arenas where India is going for research, or you can say, let's say, pharmaceutical sector. India is dependent on the APIs on China. So now if we are going for our own R&D, that will help us enhance our manufacturing sector as well. Okay, so this R&D becomes important for us. So for innovation and research, we have given a corpus of nearly 1 lakh. Okay, 1 lakh crore. Now new scheme for deep tech in defense and Atmanirbharta. So that is also, that scheme is not yet launched, but there will be a scheme related to that. Then will empower 4 pillar of Viksit Bharat. Okay, so we will discuss all those things in the further discussions. Now here you can say finance minister signal tapering of government spending, want private sector to step up. So basically in this budget we have seen that finance minister said that we will be going for the lesser borrowings from the market, considering that now we are trying private players to focus on economic game or in the economic arena. So basically when government borrows less, there will be a money which is available for private sector. Okay, so private sector will get loans at cheaper rates and they will be able to invest in the economy. Okay, so that is why now government is saying that we will be tapering our spending so that private sector can come. Okay, because we have seen that in the last few years government has spent a lot, and the idea behind that was that once government build the basic minimum infrastructure, then private investment can crowd in. Okay, so there is this effect that is called crowding in. Okay, so when we are talking about crowding in effect, what happens is that once there is a basic infrastructure which has been built by government has spent a lot of money. Okay, now the private investment will crowd in, or you can say come and concentrate in that particular area. Okay, so there will be a thing that is called crowding in of private investment. So that is what we mean when government is saying that we will go for the lesser spending so that private players can come and take space. Okay, so stay clear of any big populist announcement in this particular budget session, and slow tapering of government heavy lifting the economy so that government can come out and private players may take their place in the economy. Because mostly when we are talking about economies, we are going for a mixed model, that is we have this market based, and there are certain areas which has been controlled by the government itself. Okay, so now the role of government here is that they work as a facilitator. Okay, as and when there is an issue, government will come and take control of that. Otherwise they will let the market work at their own pace. Okay, because when market is working at their own, there will be a competition, and that competition will actually incentivize them to invest more in their own R&D. Okay, why India Inc is not isn't taking the investment? baton from finance ministry. So basically they are saying that why the industry is not taking this investment as of now. We will discuss that later, but now parting shot, white paper on economy under UPA. So they have said that they will be coming up with a white paper, or you can say a document which basically they will be discussing the economy under the UPA regime, UPA 1, UPA 2. Okay, so that is for us later, for our later discussion. Right now you can see it was an interim budget. Whenever I have told you time and again that interim budget are a normal phenomena. Whenever there is an election budget, election year, we'll go with the interim budget, because the new government will go for the full budget. Okay, so other than that, it is also called vote on account, though there is some limited difference between interim budget and vote on account, but these terms are generally used interchangeably. Okay, estimates of revenue and expenditure. So here we are going for the both estimates of revenue as well as expenditure, but focus of interim budget will be for appropriation of money or asking money from the parliament for their working in the interim month till then, till the general elections are done. Okay, so basically when we are talking about a financial year, you know that when elections are, maybe let's say if in May or June or something. So from today, from the budget's time and till that particular point of time, financial year will start from the 1st of April. So from 1st of April till the elections are completed and the new budget comes, so government will need some money to go ahead with the day-to-day business. Okay, so for that government would require some money, and they will take in the form of interim budget, and they will pass appropriation bill, finance bill, etc., so that they can run the government machinery. Okay, so there are few documents which are to be presented during the budget or after the budget is stable. Okay, that is FRBM Act is there. That FRBM Act says that there are some certain documents which is to be present on the parliament's floor with the budget. So now it's your job, your homework to go ahead and find out what those three documents are, because UPSC has once asked questions related to that. So I would suggest that go through that particular three documents as well. Okay, you don't have to go and read those documents. Just know that there are three other documents which are to be presented with the budget. Okay, that is required by the FRBM Act. Now moving further, we will be talking about few data here. I will not go into details of it, but few data which are important for you. Let's say nominal GDP growth rate expected to be 10.5 for 2024-25. So this is, they are talking about nominal growth. Okay, that is 10.5%. Nominal growth here means that they have not adjusted for the inflation yet. Okay, once they adjust for the inflation yet, we are considering there will be inflation of 3 to 4%. Okay, so ultimately this figure will be around some 6 to 7%. Okay, so now in this speech they have said that it implies a potential GDP growth at the rate of around 7% in the next few years. Okay, so this forecast has been done by RBI, etc. Recently we have said that World Economic Outlook report was there. We have talked about that as well. So all these reports, and then there is this Indian Economy Review document which is also saying that economy will grow at the rate of 7%. Okay, now ambitious target to set reduced fiscal deficit. So when we are talking about the last budget estimates, they have said that fiscal deficit would be around 5.9%. So in the revised estimates, what they have said that it is around 5.8%. So right now fiscal deficit is 5.8%. So when we are talking about budget, they will be talking about 3 years. One, that is budget estimates. Okay, that is for the next year to come. Okay, they will give you revised estimates. Okay, so basically they will talk about the past year, the current year, and then the coming year. Okay, so in the past they have estimated that fiscal deficit would be 5.9% in the last budget. They have estimated it, but now when they have gone for the revised budget, we have seen that it has reduced. So government has done well in that regard, and now we are saying that in the next financial year our target is 5.1%. Okay, so that is our target for financial year 25. Okay, and then when we are talking about the year ahead, we have a target of 4.5%. That 4.5% target of fiscal deficit was announced in budget speech 2021. Okay, so basically they are saying that we will be going forward for our intention, or whatever our target is, that we are performing well in that direction, because we have reduced from earlier it was somewhere around more than 6%. Okay, and then when we are talking about COVID time, it was nearly 9% also. Okay. So after 9%, 6%, then 5.9%. Now in the revised estimates is 5.8, and we are considering or we can aspiring for 5.1% in the next year. And again, next to next year, we are saying that we will be reaching the target of 4.5%, which has been set by the finance minister himself in the 2021 budget speech. Okay. So in that regard, they are doing good. Now moving further, aims to lower the cost of borrowing for the private sector. How they are trying to lower the cost of borrowing for the private sector is that government is saying that we are going for the lesser borrowing from the market. When there is a lesser borrowing from the government, from the market, you can say that there is a larger pool of fund which is available for private players. When there is a larger pool of fund which is available for private players, so banks would be interested in giving loans to private players at a smaller, or you can say cheaper rates. Okay, so that is why the cost of money or cost of investment, cost of loans private investors can get from banking sector, that would be cheaper. Okay, because government is going for their own expenditure and not from the market borrowing, other than they will be looking for other areas. Capex, capital expenditure target of 10 lakh crore for the current year was not met. So basically in the last year we have kept a target, that is 10 lakh crore in the capital expenditure, but it was not achieved fully. Right now it is nearly around 9.5 lakh crore. Okay. And then income tax revenue projected to be the top contributor, accounting for the 19% of all government resources in financial year 25. So we are saying that income tax revenue is generating the highest amount of money for highest amount of revenue for the government. Other than that, corporate tax is at 17%, GST as 18%, and when we are talking about borrowings, that is at 28%. Okay, so here we are talking about tax revenue, and when we are talking about borrowings, they are non-tax revenue. When we are talking about this components of budget, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, all these terms I have discussed in the economy primer, wherein we have talked about a special budget episode. We have taken a budget episode, so you can go and watch that episode. If you are not understanding anything from this, any terminology you are not understanding, you can watch that episode. Other than that, all the legal aspects, or you can say all the constitutional aspects of this particular budget, or anyway budget as a static part also, has been covered by Pragya ma'am in the polity primer. Okay, so you can watch those videos. Now moving further, let's see from where this you can say money comes from and from where it goes. Okay, I will not discuss deep into it. I have given this infographic so that you can remember that what contributes highest. Okay, so here you can say when we are talking about government's most money coming, that is coming from the borrowing. Okay, that is non-tax revenue. When we are talking about tax revenue, it is coming highest from the income tax. Okay, then we have GST, then we have corporation tax, and then we have this non-tax receipts, etc. So you can go through this. Right now idea is that maximum portion is from borrowing. When we are talking about tax revenue, maximum portion is from the income tax. Okay, so first is income tax, then we have GST, and then we have corporation tax. Okay, so that is the trend for how money comes in. Okay, and how money goes out, that is expenditure. Here you can say that maximum expenditure here is on your interest payments. Okay, that is first is interest payment, and second is your state share and tax duties. So government has to give some money out of you can say their own revenue to states, because that is fiscal commitment which has been made by government, union government to state government. Okay, so that is how 20% is to be given to states, and 20% are basically your interest payments. Okay, and then we have other expenditures, so you can go through it, and then we have subsidies, etc. And defense sector is having a lot of you can say share when we are talking about expenditure. Okay, and then there are welfare schemes like center sector schemes, etc. So you can just go through this flow, you can say pie chart. Okay, so that you can have an idea of the trend, where money is going out and from where money is coming, and for what all sectors are contributing, what is the you can say amount they are contributing, or percentage of the amount they are contributing. Okay, so this particular trend would be important for you. Please know that there is a minute difference between the corporation tax and the GST. They might get change in the next budget or etc. So keep a tap on that. Right now it is like that. Okay, now moving further, When we are talking about energy sector, we have this nationally determined some goals, you can say commitments we have. So basically in the at the international level we have these NDCs, okay, and on that front India is doing really well, okay. So now commitment to meet net zero by 2070, this is the commitment that can be important for you from a prelims point of view, mains answer writing also, even in any kind of essay writing which is related to science and tech, or you can say which is related to your energy related infrastructure, so that data can be important. Now viability gap funding for wind energy, we'll be discussing about that later, okay. Then setting up of coal gasification and liquefaction capacities, so this is done so that we can rely less on imports, okay. So that is one thing. Phased mandatory blending of CNG, PNG and the compressed biogas, so basically we are going for the blending, okay, so to make it more environment friendly. Then financial assistance for procurement of biomass aggregation machinery, okay. So our focus is mostly on the biomass energy or renewable energies right now, so that you can see. Then rooftop solarization, first that particular, you can say there will be some various phases of that. So right now they are going for some 1 crore households which will be enabled to give you nearly 300 unit of free electricity per month. So right now the objective here is that we are going for rooftop installation of solar panels, so that, and those people nearly 1 crore household will be going for that in the you can say initial level. So those households will be getting free 300 unit electricity, okay. Other than if there is a surplus, they can sold it to power grids, okay. So that is the one thing. The other name of this particular scheme is Suryodaya. As I told you, after the inauguration of Ram Mandir, the first decision which was taken by Prime Minister was related to this Suryodaya scheme, that is basically solarization, rooftop solarization, okay. Now moving further, adoption of e-buses for the public transport working and strengthening e-vehicle ecosystem, and you can say with that you have to go for the supporting infrastructure related to charging, etc. So our focus is right now on reducing the you can say emissions, and that is why e-buses are quite important for that. Other than that, e-vehicle, if we say the broader term, so e-vehicle and the charging infrastructure would be important, okay. So budget has focused on that as well. A new scheme for bio manufacturing and bio foundry to be launched to support environmental friendly alternatives, okay. So that is related to your energy or you can say environment, okay. Now moving further, infrastructure. So there are three major railway corridors they are saying that they are going for, and they are under PM Gati Shakti, okay. So PM Gati Shakti, this become important for you. You have to go and keep a tab on this, and you can make a note like 2 or 3 lines, or you can say 2 or 3 paragraph of notes from this PM Gati Shakti, okay. Hold on. So when we are talking about infrastructure, there are 3 corridors they are talking about. So these corridors are basically steel and cement related corridor is one, and then there is this heavy traffic decongestion, something like that. One corridor is there. So there are 3 corridors they are basically talking about. Third is related to your port connectivity, okay. So these 3 corridors will be important for you, and they will be taken under PM Gati Shakti to improve the logistics efficiency and the reducing of the cost. Promotion of foreign investment via bilateral investment treaties to be negotiated. So between 2 countries there will be a bilateral negotiation treaty between the government and related to foreign investments, okay. And when we are talking about FDI, recently our FDIs are also doing good, okay. Expansion of existing airports and comprehensive development of new airports in the Udan scheme. So Udan scheme has been in news for like last 4, 5, 6 years. So you can definitely go and make note of that. Promotion of urban transformation via metro rail and Namo Bharat. Okay. So that is about your infrastructure. When we are talking about housing, we know that we have Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Okay, under that Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, close to achieving 3 crore marks. So basically we are going for, we had this target of achieving 3 crore house or construction of 3 crore houses, which we have nearly touched. Now additional 2 crores are being added in the next 5 years. Okay, so when we are talking about housing sector, or when we are talking about construction sector, steel, and cement becomes important for you. So when we are talking about that, if there is a boom in the construction sector or the real estate sector, so there will be a boom in the production of steel and cement as well. This is how economy works. Okay, so that is I have told you this. And housing for middle class scheme to be launched to promote middle class to build and to buy and build their own house. So those people who are living in chawls or in any rented apartments, etc. So basically for them we have this new scheme, that is housing for middle class scheme. Okay, now moving further, here you can say agriculture related some decisions are taken. Government will promote private and public investment in the post harvest activities. So after once the crop is harvested from the field or the farm, there are various things related to your weighing, related to sorting, marketing, branding. Okay, all these things. In that we are saying that there will be a PPP, or you can say public private partnership can also be there, and private investment separately can be there. So public and private investment we are looking for. And then application of nano DAP. So earlier we had this nano urea. Okay, so when we are talking about nano urea, nano particles, you know that when we are talking about nano urea, they are small particles of fertilizer only. But here special thing is that because they are so less in the surface area, so their spread is quite good, and because of which a small amount of fertilizer can be spread to a larger area and they will have a better efficiency. Okay, so we already have this nano urea and now we are going for nano DAP. Okay, now moving further, Atmanirbhar oil seeds abhiyan. So we have always talked about these pulses or oil seeds. Their demand is very good in India, or their demand is very high. So we have to depend on the imports. Okay. So now to achieve Atmanirbharta, in that we are going for this Atmanirbhar oil seeds abhiyan strategy to be formulated to achieve Atmanirbharta in oil seeds. Okay. Now comprehensive program for dairy development to be formulated. Other than that, we have this scheme of this is Matsya Sampada. So that is also important. Implementation of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana to be stepped up, enhancing aquaculture productivity, doubling exports and generate more employment opportunities. Okay, 5 integrated aqua parks to be set up. So that is related to your aquaculture, or you can say fisheries, etc. So there is this scheme, that is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, that would be important for you. Okay. Other than that, there are dedicated funds which has been formed for fisheries and you can say horticulture, etc. So that is also important for you. Now moving further, we will talk some trends, not many, because obviously I have taken only those about which we have certain idea. If there is a you can say up and down in any kind of let's say inflation, headline inflation has been going up and down in the last few years. So basically we will not go into details of that. But right now when we are talking about unemployment rates, so unemployment rates are basically decreasing. So we have taken this graph here. You can say that we can justify that these rates are decreasing. Right now it is at 3.2%. Okay. So if they ask you about the trend in unemployment, you can say that they are decreasing. Then when we are talking about volume of digital transactions, so which is this is quite obvious, because after you can say this Digital India Mission and Jan Dhan Yojana and UPI, etc., we have seen that there is a rise in the digital transactions. So you can see from financial year 18 we have seen a consistent rise in the digital transactions. Now moving further, GST collections also. So from our financial year 18 we have seen a rise in GST collection, except for the financial year 2021. Okay, but the thing is, when we are talking about in the long term, we can say that it is increasing. Okay, now moving further, if they ask you specifically that on the year on year basis, then you should know that there was a drop once. Okay, now moving further, one more thing here I would like to tell you this, initially the GST collections are nearly 0.9 or you can say 0.90 lakh crore, okay, which now has increased to nearly 1.7 lakh crore. Okay, so you can say that there is a good increase in that, nearly it has been doubled. Okay, now from when we are talking about health sector, here you can see increases cervical cancer vaccination for girls 9 to 14 years. We have talked about this vaccination drive in our newspaper discussions as well. So we will not go into details of that, but the thing is, you should remember that we have a vaccine for cervical cancer. Okay. Other than that, we have this UWIN platform. Earlier, you must have heard of CoWIN platform. Okay, that in the time of COVID, we have gone for the vaccination drive under COVID. Okay, so on the line of that, we have now universal VIN. So now it is an immunization effort mission under the mission Indradhanush. Okay, so that will be rolled out for all now, because earlier basically it is for the COVID only. Now they have taken all the diseases for which immunization is done under the Indradhanush scheme. So they will be covered under this particular platform. Okay. Now health cover under the Ayushman Bharat scheme to be extended to ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers and the helpers. Okay. So they have extended this Ayushman Bharat Yojana to Anganwadi workers, ASHA workers and the helpers. Okay. Now moving further, or other than that, here you can say Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 to be expedited for improvement of nutrition delivery, early childhood care and development. Okay. So basically we have discussed these schemes in our recap series as well, where I have taken all the government schemes. In those schemes we have covered all these things. Okay, so you can go through that, because all the important schemes from 2023 we have discussed over there. Okay, so that is on our channel. You can go and watch recap 2023. In this series we have discussed all the important events from 2023. Okay, so now moving further, there is another you can say scheme, that is Padhai Bhi Poshan Bhi. Okay, so you can go through that as well. Now tax reforms, when we are talking about, because most of the time you must have heard that budgets, when we are talking about common man, whenever there is budget, the expectation of middle class and the common man is always on the tax reforms. Okay, so but this time, since there are elections, government has not gone for any kind of big policy change. So they have said that we will not go for any kind of populist measure, so that you can say whenever there are populist measures, there are chances that elections might get influenced. Okay, so government has not gone for any such big policy change this time. So when we are talking about tax reforms, retention of same tax rates, so there was no change in the tax rate as of now. For the direct and indirect taxes, including import duties, there is no change. Okay, for corporate tax, 22% for existing domestic companies and 15% for certain new manufacturing companies. No tax liability for taxpayer with income up to 7 lakh under the new tax regime. That new tax regime has already been in place. Okay. Now achievement of the tax reforms, when we are talking about all the tax reforms which has been happening since last 5-10 years. So direct tax collection more than doubled. We have seen that from 0.90 lakh crore to it has increased to nearly 1.7 lakh crore. Okay, so nearly you can say that they have doubled in the last 10 years. Okay, now number of returns filed swelled 2.4 times. Okay, so number of return filers, that is also increased. Faster refunds, when we are talking about this processing time of returns, they have decreased from 93 days to merely 10 days. So that is an important achievement, you can say, when we are talking about ease of doing business. That becomes quite important. Average monthly gross GST collections doubled from 1.66 lakh crore in financial year 24. As I told you, that is nearly 1.66 or 1.7 lakh crore. Okay, then increase in the tax buoyancy of the state revenue from 0.72% in 2012-16 to 1.22% post GST periods. So ultimately you can say that after GST, states has also benefited. Okay, benefit to the consumer, reduction in the logistic cost and the price of most goods and services. So basically, because of the GST regime, the cascading effect on the taxation that has gone, and because of which, and when we are talking about e-way bill generation, etc., because of which there is a reduction in the price, or when there is no cascading effect, obviously the MRP has reduced. Other than that, when we are talking about the price of the logistics, so the production prices has reduced, and because of which ultimate you can say benefit was to consumers. Okay, so now moving further. So now we are here, we are almost ending this session now. So basically here you can say that allocation of major schemes. Okay, so these are major schemes. Mahatma Gandhi National Manrega, when we are talking about, so there is a increase in the you can say money allotted. Okay, And then when we are talking about PLI, we have seen an increase. Solar power grids, we have seen an increase. When we are talking about national green hydrogen mission, we have seen some increase. And then modified program for development of semiconductor and display manufacturing ecosystem, that has increased. And then Ayushman Bharat, that has also increased. Okay, so these are some flagship schemes which is important for you, as we have discussed many times that India is trying to become a semiconductor manufacturing hub. So obviously there will be increase in the allocation for that. Okay, when we are talking about India is focusing on health infrastructure, so that is also one thing. Manrega has always been a, you can say, lifeline of the rural household, etc. So that is also here, you can say that there is an increase in the outlay. And then PLI, when we are talking about make in India and trying to be Atmanirbhar, PLI scheme is quite important. And when we are talking about renewable energy, this solar power grid and national green hydrogen mission becomes important, and we have seen that there is an increase in the allocation of that. So that is almost, you can say, mostly about your budget. We have discussed almost all the important things. Other than that, if you are trying to go into details of it, okay, so we have this budget special series also, wherein I guess Ritu ma'am has discussed this budget yesterday also, so you can go through that. Other than that, we will go forward with the magazines. So Drishti Current Affairs magazine will cover all these things. Okay, now viability gap funding for tapping offshore wind leads to green push. Okay, so hold on a second, we will discuss this article now. Okay, so when we are talking about offshore wind energy, so basically what we are trying to do is that, let's say this is the coastline. Okay, so we have identified few areas of India. Let's say one is your Gujarat coast, and second is this Tamil Nadu coast. So here we have seen that there are avenues for your wind energy. Okay, so when we are talking about wind energy, that can be onshore and offshore. When we are talking about onshore, like that can be onshore or inland, so that can be in the inland area or the mainland of the country. And when we are talking about offshore, that can be anywhere in between the sea. So somewhere here in our own exclusive economic zones, we will be going for setup of wind energy. Okay, so now that is important, because when we are talking about offshore wind energy, since they are offshore and there is no, you can say, obstruction in the wind, so because of which wind speed is also very fast, and that can generate more energy. Okay, so that is why offshore wind energy is quite important. So we are now looking forward for the India's potential in the offshore wind energy. Okay, since we have a peninsular presence in the region, and we have almost we are surrounded by this Indian Ocean, when we are talking about the peninsular region, so we can say that we have a lot of avenues in that area. So let's see this article. So moving ahead, finally, to harness the untapped potential of the offshore wind industry, energy, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Thursday announced viability gap funding for setting up of at least 1 gigawatt wind energy capacity. Here we are talking about 1 gigawatt offshore wind energy capacity. Okay, so that is our target as of now in the initial phases. Now here you can say that when we are talking about offshore wind refers to, or you can say offshore wind energy when we are talking about, so these offshore winds refers to wind turbines located in the middle of the sea rather than at the coastline. Okay, so as I told you, rather than at the coastline or the mainland, they are located at, in the middle of the sea of the coast of you can say Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, which are potential sites as of now. Okay, so these we are taking these areas because greater wind speed and lack of any obstruction in the middle of the sea means the turbines are able to achieve higher rates of conversion of wind energy into electrical energy. Okay, so what the thing is, when we are talking about this infrastructure which is to be needed to build for this offshore wind energy, so this infrastructure or the construction of this infrastructure, maintenance of this infrastructure is quite costly. Okay, so it will require a huge investment. So when we are talking about huge investment here, private player might not go into it because they would be reluctant to enter into one arena which is new, and we don't know that how much it will generate or how much government will procure. The thing is, that is why government has to go for some kind of initial infrastructure creating, or some kind of a way to incentivize the people to come and join the initiative. So government has gone for the viability gap funding. So basically, when we are talking about viability gap funding, so certain amount will be invested by the private players, and then whatever the gap is there between the need of the investment and the amount invested by the private players, that gap will be filled by the government. Okay, so for the viability of the project, whatever gap is there, that will be filled by the government, and that is why we are calling it as a viability gap funding. So viability gap funding, basically you can say, act as an incentive for private player to enter into an arena. Okay, so here you can see India does not have any offshore wind project as of now, but several lucrative sites we have, that is Gujarat coast and the Tamil Nadu coast. Okay, viability gap funding is a financial incentive intended to lower the entry barriers and make project attractive for the investors. As I told you, since huge investment is an entry barrier, okay, other than that also, if there is no certain future, that also becomes an entry barrier. So now government is supporting this infrastructure that will reduce that barrier. So, and the second thing is, when we are talking about the investment barrier, that will be reduced by the viability gap funding, so that we can make this endeavor more attractive for the private players. Okay, India's quest to aggressively harness clean energy technologies and move ahead on the low carbon development pathways with the objective of achieving a net zero emission status by 2070. As I told you, we have discussed this. We are trying to reduce our emissions by 50% level, 2005 level. Okay, so the target is by 2030. Okay, so that is one thing, we are trying to reduce our emissions. Okay, second thing is, we are trying to become a net zero emission by 2070. Okay, so that two targets are important for you. Now moving further, greater adoption of e-buses, we have discussed in our budget that they have gone for the e-buses also, and then mandatory blending of CNG, PNG, etc. We have talked about that, and 100 million ton coal gasification and liquefaction capacity to be created by 2030. That will reduce the import of other liquid or gas fuels, etc. Okay, so that things we have already discussed. Now budgets, greener push, we have discussed all these things: viability gap funding, 300 units of free electricity, that is Suryodaya Yojana, and then manufacturing and the charging infrastructure we have discussed, and mandatory blending, we have discussed that as well. Okay, so that is about your viability gap funding, and that is related to your offshore wind energy related infrastructure, and government is trying to build that infrastructure, and they are hoping that private players will come and invest in that arena. Okay, so that is about one article. So that is you can see. And now, other than that, sorry, this was from the last episode. Here, Lakshadweep in focus, domestic tourism gets a boost. So basically, as I told you, we have gone ahead with the G20. Okay, and we have successfully arranged everything. G20 was conducted in various cities of India, and that was a very successful event, and we have given a message to the world that India is capable of arranging such big conferences in India. Okay, so that becomes an important message. Now other you can say organization might also go for such meetings in India. Other than that also, India is going for you can say promoting our tourism. Okay, we are going for various circuits which are to be built: Ramayan circuit, Buddhist circuit. All these circuits are to be built in India, so that we can capitalize on our tourist potential. Okay, so now let's see why Lakshadweep is in focus. So basically, recently our Prime Minister has gone to Lakshadweep, and there was some controversy related to Maldives versus Lakshadweep, because of which now Lakshadweep has become famous. And now even then even though we have lesser you can say tourist infrastructure over there, but we are trying to build Lakshadweep as an alternative to Maldives, though that is a very aspirational target as of now, because we don't even have good connectivity with the Lakshadweep. Okay, we don't have proper services when we are talking about cooking fuel, etc., water requirement, etc. They are dependent on Kerala, which is nearby Indian state, when we are talking about mainland India. Okay, so they are dependent on the Kerala. So that is why Lakshadweep is an aspirational target for us, and we are trying to build infrastructure over there. Okay, so when we are we have talked about we have talked about a few infrastructure projects in Karavati Island, and there were a few 2 or 3 islands we have discussed in our newspaper analysis discussion. So that projects becomes important for you. Now let's see, to take up the comprehensive development of the iconic tourist centers, also branding and marketing them at the global scale. So we are going for the focusing on the tourism sector. Okay, a renewed focus on the port connectivity and the infrastructure development on its land. Okay, so port connectivity, obviously that is important for us. Other than that, Ministry of Tourism flagship speed, that is Swadesh Darshan. Swadesh Darshan scheme, they are basically, there are certain, you can say, integrated circuit. As I told you, there are certain circuits related to Ramayana circuit, Mahabharata circuit, we have this Buddhist circuit. All these things are becoming basically part of the Swadesh Darshan scheme, wherein we are focusing on the tourism. We are trying to connect these sites. When we are talking about, let's say, Ramayana circuit. So idea behind Ramayana circuit is that all the important sites from the Ramayana or the related to Lord Ram, so we'll be connecting those sites so that it is easy for the pilgrims to go and visit those sites. Okay, on the same line we have Buddhist circuit. Okay, this Ramayana circuit and Buddhist circuit also have some international presence, because there is this place in Nepal, that is Janakpur, and Nepal is also trying to be part of this Ramayana circuit. Okay, then when we are talking about Buddhist circuits, that is also having some international you can say places to visit. Okay, so that is there. And other than that, renewed emphasis on the MICE, as I told you, when we are talking about G20 etc. So MICE infrastructure is basically meeting, incentives, conferences and exhibition infrastructure. So MICE tourism is related to all those, let's say even there are diplomats, businessmen, all these people are going for certain conferences, summits etc. So for such infrastructure, for such summit and such meetings, we are creating infrastructure. Okay, so that is why this MICE infrastructure, MICE tourism is also getting this renewed focus by the ministry. Okay, so that is about your tourism. And right now when we are talking about Lakshadweep, it has been in the news, and since it has been mentioned in the you can say budget speech as well, so that area becomes extremely important for your exam point of view. Okay, I can say that you can even expect one question from this area or island of this particular region. Okay, so that is about this article. Now when we are talking about international affairs, there is nothing much to discuss. The same things are going on. We have discussed this related to UNRWA, or you can say this agency, UN agency, which is kind of going for some aid to Palestinians in the Israel West Bank and the Gaza area, or in the nearby area of Jordan etc. So it was Israel accused that few people from this agency, that is a UN based agency, so few people from this agency was involved in the October 7 attack on Israel. Okay, so though this agency has said that these claims are not right, or they have kind of rejected the claims, but ultimately even though they have gone for some kind of investigation. Okay, now India has made a comment that India is quite concerned about their role in the that Hama attack, or you can say Hamas attack on the Israel, though they have, India has welcomed the investigation by UN. Okay, so that is one thing. Other than that, when we are talking about Hamas unlikely to reject truce bid, in the last class we have discussed that there is a 3-phase truce or peace deal which has been placed in front of Hamas, and Hamas are considering that, but Israel should end war. Okay, so Hamas are saying that they are open to that peace deal, but Israel should end war at least. Okay, so that is another thing. And the US get ready for strikes on Iranian targets in Iraq and Syria. Okay, as I told you that Iran has made some attack on US bases, or Iran supported rebel group which has made attack on the US in the land of Jordan. Okay, there was this US base in Jordan where they have attacked and some US personnel were killed. Okay, and USA has said that they will retaliate. So now USA is getting ready for that. With that, today's discussion ends here. I will go forward with the practice question for you. Consider the following statement. There are few things which are given: increase in the domestic private consumption, geopolitical shock due to war, monetary tightening of US Federal Reserve, hawkish monetary policy by RBI, sluggish global demand. Okay, so there are some you can say indicators, you can say, which are present in front of you. How many of the above given situations will be helpful in reviving faltering economy? If there is an economy which is going in the negative trend, or you can say there is some kind of sluggish trend in the economy, and if you want to revive that economy, so which of the following, okay, will be helpful in that. Okay, so your options are given, so you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I think mostly whatever was there in the budget we have discussed the important aspects of it. For your understanding it is enough, and if you want to go more into details, there are various things you can go, there are some summaries also available. Other than that, budget speech, I would recommend that you should go and read the speech by your own, okay, and make note out of it. Okay, so what is the exact time of this session daily? So Komal, the exact time of this session is nearly 10:30, but because of some technical glitch or something, there you can take a gap of nearly half an hour. Okay, so if 10:30 or 11, it will start between 10:30 to 11. Okay, so that's about it, and please speak in Hindi. So for your Hindi, you can go on our Drishti IAS channel. We have Hindi channel as well. So on that, there is this newspaper analysis done by Akshay sir, that is related to the Hindu. So you can directly go and watch that analysis related to your Hindi part. Okay, so with that, I would like to take your leave. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel so that you can prepare well for the exam and keep updated or posted with the important recent events which are happening in the international and national arena. Okay, so bye, take care.